True review here, and here is the top 10 spies in video games. Now, before we get underway, this is aimed at video game characters that start out as your friends but are really two-faced backstabbing sons of bitches, rather than counter-espionage secret agents. Also characters that have one disguise, but then reveal themselves to be the bad guys but continue to guide you through the game will not be counted, so some characters such as Showdown will be missed out. Let it roll!
Shepard.
The Illusive Man. Making his first appearance in Mass Effect 2, Martin Sheen presents to us the Illusive Man, the founder and CEO of the private company known as Cerberus. Whilst we don't fully trust Cerberus by the time they come into full play in Mass Effect 2, it is still unclear what the Illusive Man's true intentions are. Having been labelled as one of the most evil men in the galaxy, we are unsure whether or not to take what he says at value, but the kicker comes from when he brings Commander Shepard back from the dead in order to fight the Reapers. It seems like a worthy cause, and that the Illusive Man has the galaxy's best interests at heart, and we might have been inclined to believe him, right up until he not only tries to have Shepard killed in Mass Effect 3, but it is also revealed that he himself is under the influence of the Reapers. He just doesn't know it yet. If having a Reaper spy as your boss isn't bad enough, then I don't know what is.
Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living.
Michelle. That bitch asked too many questions. Good for you, Nico, for not being honest with her. That's the way you should treat your girlfriend, especially when it turns out that she's a government spy. Something about her just didn't add up, and even when you tap that ass, she still sounds like she was just reading off a script. Any girl with any common sense would have gotten the dirt off of Mallory, but instead, she just keeps digging away at Nico, insisting that they constantly meet up, just so she can get him to confess to her that he f***s people up for a living. Cut it out, girl.
Now suck my cock.
And hold on tight, cause it's gonna be wilder than any 8-second ride.
Kylina. Wow, this one's harsh. You're one true ally in this game, and it turns out to be someone who's plotting to kill you. In fact, most of the events that take place in Prince of Persia Warrior Within are her attempts at trying to have you killed. Yet the prince just goes along with it and takes her orders. Afraid that his death is upon him, the prince ends up on the island of time where the sands were made. Here he faces an undead army, some girl in an unnecessarily skimpy outfit that is not designed to hold warmth, especially during storms, countless mini-bosses, and an unholy amount of deadly traps, all in the name of preserving his own life. But most of these obstacles have been put in front of him by Kylina, the supposed servant of the Empress of Time. But it's not until they both reach the throne room where Kylina reveals to the prince that she is the Empress, and that all of the challenges that the prince has faced so far have been laid there by the Empress so that the prince would be killed. I never understood why Kylina didn't just say to the prince, "Here's a sword. The only way you're going to get through to the next room is to jump on it." Or if she just handed him a bottle of poison and said, "Drink this, it's good for you." But instead, she just sets up all of these elaborate traps to kill the prince that end up backfiring on her. It's almost like something out of Roadrunner and Coyote. Was Shadia a hired assassin from the Acme Corporation?
No!
Lane Goodman.
AI Campbell. Raiden's boss and former acquaintance of Solid Snake, Roy Campbell, appears to be a stand-up guy. So naturally, when he makes yet another appearance in Sons of Liberty, we are inclined to trust this fella and listen to his advice. However, as the game progresses, Campbell's personality starts to change, and not for the better. He begins to come across as quite a ruthless person, continuously ordering Raiden to continue the mission, despite the fact that Raiden knows that there's something amiss. But before the end, this motherfucking Scissors Lover's true colours show when we find out that, in fact, this isn't Roy Campbell at all, but an AI program that was created by the antagonists of the game, and in turn, that means that Raiden is being used as a puppet by the main enemy to get him to achieve their goals without him even realising it. Sorry Raiden, but your boss is an evil AI program. I guess you best start doing naked cartwheels just to pass the time.
I hear it's amazing when the famous purple stuffed worm in Flapjaw Space with the tuning fork does a raw blink on Harry Carey Rock. I need scissors. 61.
Keeper Artemis. Much like in the same way as AI Campbell, Keeper Artemis was a constant in the Thief franchise. He was Garrett's one true ally, and even though Garrett wouldn't admit it, they needed each other. Artemis would warn Garrett of an impending disaster, and Garrett would go and stop it. But then this all changes in Thief Deadly Shadows, and we all become aware that something is amiss. Whilst Garrett was still contacted by Artemis at the start of the game, he then simply disappears from the city, and no one really knows where he had gone. Around about this time, Garrett learns of his true enemy this time round, that being the Hag, who is really just a mutated form of the former Keeper Gamal. Gamal had been using the Keeper glyphs to twist her nature into something unnatural, and to harness great powers, such as being able to take the form of anyone she kills. Near the end of the game, Keeper Artemis comes back and contacts Garrett, telling him that the Hag is after certain artifacts, and that Garrett needs to get them first. Well, after breaking into a museum and obtaining these items, Keeper Artemis reappears, only to reveal himself as the Hag. Now, whilst I'll admit that Keeper Artemis himself wasn't a spy, the Hag was in his form, and we did all believe that it was Artemis for a while, so...
And my wife is dead.
I'm sorry to hear that.
High five!
Royale! This slimy bastard happens to be one of those people that you'd want to party with, but you know from the word go that he's bad news. What got me about this guy is that he gets away with it. Pretty much every traitor you come across in any video game at some point or another gets his comeuppance, but this slimy bastard gets away with it. After resolving the Black Dahlia murders in LA Noire, Detective Cole Phelps gets transferred from the homicide desk over to Advice, and with his new transfer comes a new partner in the form of Royale. As the plot continues, we begin to notice a conspiracy going on in the background, involving a large number of city officials, and after the police department realises that they could be under the spotlight from different investigators, Royale, who also happens to be involved as well, comes up with an idea. By targeting one member of the police force, the attention could be moved away from them, and boy does he have a scapegoat in mind. Knowing that Cole Phelps has been seeing a German bit on the side, he lets loose this little fact, exposing and shaming Phelps, thus passing the attention over to him and not to the rest of the conspirators. Two-faced wanker! He's just jealous he isn't banging a German singer. A classic example of an ally who's really a spy. Spy from Team Fortress 2 lets the player be the conniving f***bag who puts the dagger in his ally's back for a change, rather than it being the other way around. The spy relies on disguise, stealth and deception to do one over on his pretend teammates, and although most of the time you can tell who's a spy by observing their behaviour, or if they've taken a sudden interest in your back, you do start kicking yourself when you realise that, had you decided to mess about with your team and shoot at them, you may have killed that spy tailing you, instead of lying on the pavement with a knife in your back.
Shall we?
Shall we what? Shall we have sex? Or shall we have a who can drink the most bleach competition? You go first. Al-Mualim! Ah, the mentor, the teacher, the leader of the Brotherhood of Assassins. Templar bastard! This game made me laugh. Here you have Altair, possibly the world's greatest assassin, having all of his stuff taken away and then sent on fetch and carry missions to the major cities of the Holy Land that are all conveniently located within a 10-minute walking distance of each other, to kill a bunch of supposed wankers, only to find out that they are really just a local charity organisation trying to improve the world. Then upon return, he brings this up to Al-Mualim, only to get a philosophical diversion, leaving all of his questions unanswered. And the mentor's reasons are neither justified or really make any sense. They are the philosophical equivalent of Al-Mualim pulling his keys out of his pockets and jingling them in front of Altair's face in order to distract him. But master, every time one of our enemies falls, they claim that they were doing good. What is their reasoning behind this? Look Altair, keys. But of course, at the end of the game, we learn that the mentor himself is actually a Templar agent who wanted the Piece of Eden for himself. Now he's got something a little bit more shiny to distract Altair with than the keys to his beamer.
Master.
Smooth, knowledgeable, and complete with a Duke Nukem lookalike award, the Master provides moral support and tactical suggestions to Solid Snake during his shenanigans at Shadow Moses. The Master is someone that Snake can always rely on when he's not too sure as to what comes next or what to look for in certain areas, and the Master is always willing to help. That is until he reveals himself near the end of the game to in fact be Liquid Snake, the main enemy in the plot. Which means that Liquid Snake has been spying on Snake the entire game, knowing exactly where he is and what he was doing. Not sure about him being the master anymore, but he's definitely the master of deception here.
One more time, got me feeling so free.
Atlas! Frank Fontaine. Yep, the friendly Irishman from Bioshock wins the #1 place as top spy. After Jack crash lands in the Atlantic Ocean and then proceeds to stumble across the underwater city of Rapture, he quickly realises that he has no friends and no one to turn to. Well, a stranger called Atlas quickly finds him and begins contacting him via radio and helps guide him through the city. Little did we know, however, that this Irishman is not Atlas, but is really the city's greatest threat, Frank Fontaine, who is trying to overthrow Andrew Ryan, the current leader, and take control of the most powerful biological weapon ever invented, that being Adam. He's all about deception and control, and he manages to achieve his goals by controlling Jack through hypnosis and psychological suggestioning. Oh, of course this means that all of the actions you've taken in the game and all of your objectives up until this point are all really being controlled by Frank, and you have no say in it at all. The legend of Atlas in Greek mythology was said to have held the world on his shoulders, but here, Atlas has literally taken control of your world, which means you've got the right to bust a cap in his turncoat ass. And so ends another top 10 list, but if you feel like you need to bust a cap in someone's turncoat ass, then like and subscribe to my channel and check out all the past True Review episodes. See you soon.
Yeah. Wow, that sounds like a really good deal. But I think I got a better one. How about I give you the finger, and you give me my
bacon and eggs.